For years, the dusty streets of Dodge City were filled with laughter, gun smoke, and unforgettable characters, but behind the scenes of one of television's most iconic westerns, a storm was brewing, a feud so intense that it would remain hidden for decades. This is the untold story of how Ken Curtis, the man who brought the beloved Deputy Festus Hagen to life on Gunsmoke, truly came to despise one of his co-stars, and how the truth only emerged years after the cameras stopped rolling. Welcome to Hollywood Vault 8 AM, where we pull back the curtain on the real stories Hollywood never wanted you to hear. To understand what really happened, we must go back to 1964, when Ken Curtis first stepped into the dusty boots of Festus, replacing Dennis Weaver as the deputy to James Arness's stoic Marshal Matt Dillon. Audiences instantly fell in love with Festus's raspy voice, crooked grin, and good-hearted charm, but while viewers adored him, life behind the scenes was not so simple. According to cast and crew members, Ken Curtis was a perfectionist, fiercely protective of his character and deeply loyal to the authenticity of Gunsmoke. Yet not everyone shared his passion or his patience. His on-screen chemistry with Amanda Blake, who played Miss Kitty Russell, seemed effortless, but off-screen, their relationship was far from friendly. Rumors spread quietly through the set that Curtis and Blake clashed often, not about acting, but about respect. Amanda Blake had been part of Gunsmoke since its very beginning in 1955, long before Curtis arrived. She had helped shape the series, defining Miss Kitty as both strong and compassionate, a woman ahead of her time in television. When Ken Curtis joined the cast, some said he felt like an outsider entering a world that wasn't his. Blake, confident and commanding, often took control of scenes and expected others to follow her lead. Curtis, however, wasn't the kind of man who liked to be told what to do, especially not by someone who questioned his acting choices. Crew members recalled tense moments when their disagreements spilled out between takes, quiet jabs, sarcastic comments, and cold silences that everyone on set noticed. While James Arness, always calm and professional, tried to keep peace among his co-stars, even he couldn't fully hide the growing friction between his two deputies of Dodge. Behind that warm television glow, resentment was simmering. Some reports claimed that Ken Curtis believed Amanda Blake thought of him as less sophisticated a country boy who had somehow stumbled onto her show. Curtis, proud of his small-town roots and his work ethic, took that personally. He was a man who'd grown up singing cowboy songs before acting, performing with the Sons of the Pioneers, and working hard to earn his spot in Hollywood. To him, respect wasn't about fame, it was about effort. But to Blake, Curtis's rough-around-the-edges humor and occasional stubbornness seemed unprofessional. Decades later, people who had worked on the show quietly confirmed that Curtis couldn't stand her, calling her impossible and arrogant. One former crew member even described it as oil and water, both talented, both strong, but utterly incompatible. The irony was that Gunsmoke, at its heart, was about family, the bonds that formed between flawed but good-hearted people in a harsh world. Yet, off the set, those bonds were breaking. When Amanda Blake abruptly left Gunsmoke in 1974, fans were shocked. Many speculated that it was due to exhaustion, but some insiders whispered that her ongoing tension with Ken Curtis had played a part. Curtis himself never publicly commented, but his silence spoke volumes. He continued on the show until it ended in 1975, and when asked years later about his time on Gunsmoke, he often praised his castmates, except her. To some, it was his quiet way of erasing someone he'd never forgiven. After Gunsmoke ended, Ken Curtis continued working, appearing in TV movies and westerns, but he was forever tied to Festus. He attended fan conventions and charity events, always grateful for the audience who loved him, but those close to him said that if anyone ever brought up Amanda Blake, he'd change the subject. Meanwhile, Blake faced her own struggles after leaving the show. She drifted from Hollywood, focusing on animal rights and philanthropy. Her glamorous days as Miss Kitty were behind her, but she remained proud of the character she'd created. In 1989, tragedy struck when Amanda Blake passed away at just 60 years old. Hollywood mourned her loss, yet one voice remained silent. Ken Curtis, who had once shared the screen with her for a decade, made no public statement. For fans who had believed their friendship was real, that silence was heartbreaking. Over time, their feud became one of Hollywood's quietest mysteries, never officially confirmed, but deeply felt by those who had witnessed it. Years later, when interviews and memoirs began to surface, bits of the truth leaked out. One former Gunsmoke insider recalled that Ken and Amanda respected each other's talent but couldn't stand each other personally. That simple line said it all. Two brilliant stars, locked in a rivalry they never resolved. As time went on, nostalgia softened the edges of their story. Fans continued to celebrate Gunsmoke for its rich storytelling and unforgettable characters. In reruns, Festus and Miss Kitty still shared the screen, trading banter and warmth as if nothing had ever been wrong. That's the magic of television, it hides what's real. But behind that illusion were two people who carried their own wounds, their own pride, and their own secrets. When Ken Curtis passed away in 1991, many fans revisited the legacy of Gunsmoke and wondered whether he ever made peace with the people who'd shared that journey. In truth, we'll never know. Perhaps, like many old Hollywood stars, Curtis kept his pain private, believing that the work spoke for itself. Today, when we watch Gunsmoke, we see more than just cowboys and outlaws. We see human beings navigating fame, friendship, and failure. We see how Hollywood, even in its golden age, demanded perfection while hiding imperfection behind the camera. The story of Ken Curtis and Amanda Blake is not just about hatred or rivalry. It's about two passionate people who loved their craft too much to back down. Their tension gave the show its fire, their silence gave it mystery, and their talent made it immortal. As fans, we may never fully understand the weight of what happened behind those swinging saloon doors, but one thing is clear: even the brightest stars can cast long shadows. And sometimes, those shadows tell the real story. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the hidden truths of Gunsmoke, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Hollywood Vault 8 AM, where every story reveals another secret of old Hollywood, the kind they never wanted you to know.